Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you guys. Today in this one, we are going to be taking a look at a new deck that I've put together. Well, not like a brand new deck that I've built, but it's a new deck for me and a new deck for the channel, and that is Evil/Live Twin. This is actually a deck that I've been looking forward to trying for quite a while now, and it's actually been on my, the proverbial list of decks to try for quite a bit, but as we get closer to this deck's boss monster, Trouble Sunny, releasing, which we don't have a definitive date for that yet, but if the data mines from a little while ago are anything to indicate, it will be in the same pack as Adventures and Fluanderies, which is probably going to be the next pack that comes out. If I had to guess, maybe in like a month and a half or so, who knows, but yeah, so I decided to go ahead and jump on the deck now to start learning it. And like I said, I did want to try it a little bit sooner because even, before Trouble Sunny was on the horizon, I still really liked how this deck played. It seemed like a lot of fun. It's another one of those like more control-y kind of decks, similar to like Sky Strikers or Pure Zodiacs, where it's kind of like response-based. We have a lot of one-card combos, so we can just go ahead and play a bunch of like responsive cards and stuff like that. The problem with this deck right now is, as I alluded to before, the fact that Trouble Sunny isn't out. For those who aren't aware, Evil Twin Trouble Sunny is a Link 4 monster with 3000 attack that can, as a quick effect, I think it either tributes itself or puts itself in the extra. I'm pretty sure it tributes itself in order to summon a Ki-Sikil and a Lil-La monster from your graveyard. So the idea is that, you do your usual plays, and we'll talk about what the usual plays are here in a moment, and go into your 2 Link 2s, Ki-Sikil and Lil-La, and then you can send both of those for Trouble Sunny, and then during your opponent's turn, as soon as they threaten to get over the Trouble Sunny, you can sack it in order to special summon these two, and that'll trigger both their effects, Lil-La to destroy a card, and then Ki-Sikil to draw a card. So when I talk about usual plays for this deck in one-card combos, basically the way this deck functions is that you ideally want to normal summon either your Live Twin, Ki-Sikil, or Lil-La, as opposed to the extra deck versions of the Evil Twins. But you normal summon one of these. Honestly, you ideally normal summon Lil-La, because Lil-La summons a I keep saying Ki-Sikil. You're going to have to forgive me. It's Ki-Sikil, but for some reason I always want to say Sikli. So Lil-La will summon a Ki-Sikil monster from your deck. You actually don't usually want to summon this Ki-Sikil. You want to summon the Ki-Sikil Frost. Similarly, if you summon the Ki-Sikil, you'll want to summon the Lil-La Treat. The Ki-Sikil Frost and the Lil-La Treat have effects that activate in the graveyard. Plus, it's better to keep these in the deck to draw into later, as they are your main ways of starting your combos there. So, but yeah, ideally you draw Lil-La into a Ki-Sikil, or you can do Ki-Sikil into a Lil-La. Either way, you get 2 of these out, and then you link into Evil Twin Ki-Sikil. From there, you can special summon the Lil-La back using the Ki-Sikil's effect. You then link those into the Evil Twin Lil-La, and then Evil Twin Lil-La brings back Ki-Sikil, who then draws a card. And then you get 2 Link 2s on the board and a little bit of card advantage. And again, if Trouble Sunny were out, from there you go into Trouble Sunny to be able to set up a similar disruptive play during your opponent's turn. But since it's not out yet, now, because also using the Summon from Graveyard effect will lock you into summoning Fiends from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So you'll have to go into Unchained Abomination, which is a pretty decent Link 4 monster, but not quite as good as Trouble Sunny. Or if you want to use one of your opponent's monsters, you can go into Underworld Goddess of the Closed World as well. Let's see here. So in similar vein of wanting to start off with Ki-Sikil and Lil-La, we are playing 3 Live Twins Sunny Snitch, which is mainly just used to search a Live Twin monster, but the second effect to gain 200 and deal 200 whenever your opponent summons can actually come up, especially if you have multiple copies of this out. It doesn't often come up in that way, but it can definitely be a contributing factor towards either preventing yourself from dying or reducing your opponent's life points to 0. And then to search the Sunny Snitch, we've also got 3 copies of Secret Password, which adds a Live or Evil Twin spell or trap. But if you control a Ki-Sikil or a Lil-La monster, you can add Evil Twin monster. There's really only the one main deck Evil Twin monster that I'm not playing because it's not that great. It's okay, but It's a limited way to be able to search that anyway. This is just used to add more Sunny Snitches, which is just used to add Ki-Sikil and Lil-La, which are, again, very, very important to starting your plays off, because kind of similar to like Prank Kids and Sword Souls, these combos are really reliant on one card resolving. We're playing 3 Crossout Designator in order to ensure that that happens. We're also playing, again, just a lot of hand traps in general, not only for the crossouts, you know, like the Veiler and the Imperm and Nibiru. I kind of want a second Nibiru. Thought about maybe taking some, like maybe, because right now I'm playing 2 Ki-Sikil Frost, and you definitely don't need to. I just kind of like having 2 because this can also special itself from your hand, which comes up a fair bit more often than I thought it was going to. So right now I like the 2 Ki-Sikil Frost, but I could see dropping one of these for a second Nibiru as well. We are playing DPE in this deck, so we have that engine going for us as well. There's actually a lot of different ways you can build the extra deck. You don't always have to play DPE, but you can. You don't always have to even play Xyz monsters, but you can. If you don't play Xyz monsters, then you play Link Devotee and Link... Oh, I forget the other one. 2 Link 1 monsters that let you extend into more IP Masquerena plays. In this particular variant, we don't go for IP Masquerena as often, but it's still nice to have the option to, because sometimes you can just go into IP, and then during your opponent's turn either go into Nightmare Unicorn, or you can use IPs to go into Underworld Goddess as well during your opponent's turn, which is nice because it's like a kaiju during your opponent's turn that also summons a really powerful boss monster. So yeah, that can be pretty nice there. We're playing the 2 Parallel Exceeds as well to go into the Baguska. This is a pretty decent floodgate. We're obviously pretty Link reliant, so stuff getting turned to defense mode doesn't really affect us too much. This can also be another option to go into Zeus. The Sky Cavalry Centaurea as well as the Downward Magician are pretty much going second options. Sometimes it's really just, even if your Lil-La or Ki-Sikil resolves, it's not ideal to actually go into your Evil Twin plays. So if you want to, you can just overlay into Centaurea, Battle, then you can overlay into Downward, and then you can go into a 4 material Zeus that way. Plus, again, without Trouble Sunny being out just yet, this deck kind of needs all the help it can get in terms of good boss monsters to go into, which is another reason to play DPE and Zeus engines in this deck. But you can also just go for a pure Link build where you don't play DPE or Xyz monsters at all. But again, like I said, I just kind of like, I really do prefer the DPE engine in Zeus, with the extra help as far as, again, the, shoot, what do you call them? The boss monsters. You can also use the Parallel Exceeds to potentially go into like a Vert Anaconda. You just got to be mindful of the Ki-Sikil and Lil-La's effects. Remember, if you're using those, you can only summon Fiends from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. But then also remember, if you use Vert, you can't special summon after that. So just gotta be mindful and make sure that those aren't conflicting with one another. You usually just end up going for one play or the other anyway, depending on the scenario. But yeah, that's another reason why I want to include DPE and the Xyz monsters, is to just have a variety of lines to be able to go into. And just have the option, you know, just options in general. I tend to like I do like consistency in decks, but I also really value having a variety of plays to go into. So let's see, I think that's about all I got to say about the deck. Oh, you know what? No, actually, I want to talk about Droplet as well. So you might think it a bit odd to run 3 Droplet in a deck and over, like, you know, the 3rd Imperm or something in this particular format where like Drytrons aren't as much of a thing anymore. But Droplet is actually particularly good in Live Twins because it can be used to sack one of your Link 2s, and then once the other one is off the field, then you can special it back with the remaining Evil Twins effect. So like during your opponent's turn, you can, for example, use a Droplet. If you have like Ki-Sikil and Lil-La both out, right, the Evil Twins, you can activate Droplet, sack the Lil-La to negate an effect, and then you can use Ki-Sikil's effect as a quick effect during the main phase to bring back the Lil-La and then destroy a card in the field for disruption later. Some people will even play, oops, let's see here, yeah, Enemy Controller, oops, I didn't want to actually put it in, but Enemy Controller, attributing a monster to take control of a face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field, is actually not an awful card in this deck, even in today's format. Enemy Controller used to be like a somewhat of a semi-staple back in the day, but that was quite a while. But it's actually not too bad in this deck for that exact same reason. You contribute, you know, one of your live or evil twins rather, and then take control of an opponent's monster, and then you can use your other evil twin to bring the same one back and trigger its effects. So I think it's a little gimmicky, and I didn't really have room for it, but it's definitely an option you can do if you don't have like droplets or something and you want to achieve the same effect. You can use enemy controller there, but that's also why we're playing 3 Forbidden Droplet. It is actually an important distinction to make for this deck. So okay, looking at this now, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover as far as the build goes. If anyone in the comments is experienced with live/evil twins and want to make any suggestions, both not only in this build but in the gameplay of the replays I'm about to show you, please feel free to do so in the comments, because I am still fairly new to this deck and I am eager to get all the pointers I can for it, because I think I'm going to really like this deck, especially after Trouble Sunny comes out. Right now, it's just, admittedly, it's really hard to get solid wins with this deck. Because I tried to show some solid wins where I didn't just piggyback off of DPE. There were a few games like that where I just like would resolve a couple hand traps and then make a DPE and my opponent conceded, and I was like, well, I don't really want to show that game because that didn't really feature the live twins at all. But I will admit, I think my win rate currently with this deck is either right at or just below 50%. Not only because I'm trying to learn the deck, but also, yeah, without their boss monster, it is just a little difficult for this deck to get wins. But I still did manage to snag some pretty decent games to show off. So let's go ahead and take a look at those now. So this first game we're going to watch is against a good old 60 card IDS deck. Gotta love them, right? They do look like a lot of fun, to be fair, but it's also a lot of crafting materials for me to want to make one of those. So opponent's going to take the first turn here. We open with Ash and Imperm. Other than that, our opening hand is actually not looking that great. We only have the Ki-Sikil Frost here. They're going to Foolish. I'm definitely going to want to Ash that, especially given how, you know, many cards are in my opponent's deck. I know this Foolish is going to do quite a bit for him, but it doesn't look like they really have anything beyond that, so that's pretty decent for me. We draw another Ki-Sikil, so that's nice. I'm going to activate Fusion Destiny here, but naturally the opponent's got Nash Blossom, so that's going to leave me without pretty much any plays whatsoever. Just going to have to set this Imperm, and I will also set a Ki-Sikil Frost here, just in case it actually manages to survive into my next turn. I can normal this other Frost and then overlay into the Centaurea and go into a Zeus. Unfortunately, that actually ends up happening here, so yeah, we're actually able to make plays here. And this is also kind of another reason why I like having, well, not a reason why I like having multiple Ki-Sikil Frost, but just more evil live twins in general, just the options there. Opponent's going to evenly, but I'll of course just go ahead and get rid of my face down over the Centaurea, because the Centaurea is what's going to set up my 4 material Zeus, which again is pretty much just how I'm planning on winning the game from this point out. What I meant to actually say, I don't know why I started talking about, you know, the number of Ki-Sikil Frost in the deck. What I meant to say was this is why I like having Zeus in the deck, as I mentioned in the deck profile, just as an option. Okay, so opponent's going to activate the Magical Meltdown. I'm actually going to use Zeus's effect in response. This looks a little weird, but by doing it in response like this, my opponent's not going to get the Surge because the Meltdown needed to be on the field in order to resolve. Plus, I know my opponent's got a really dead hand. They haven't been doing like anything at all. So I'm going to prevent them from being able to access pretty much any amount of plays whatsoever by cutting them off as early as possible. Plus, I've also got the Sea and now the Nibiru in hand, so I'm not feeling too bad about my Zeus being at 2 materials here. Now, here I considered using Zeus's effect, but I decided, well, it's just one face-down monster. I'll just go ahead and battle with it. Oh, but first I'm going to activate you know, Sunny Snitch, or try to anyway, but opponent does have the Ash Blossom here, so unfortunately they are not going to, I am not going rather, to be able to start up some plays anytime soon. Oh yeah, so this is what I was touching on earlier, right? I was thinking about activating Zeus, but I was like, well, it's just one face-down monster, I'll just battle it. And then of course it turns out to be Shadal Squamata, which destroys the Zeus, so go figure. Just my luck there, but doesn't seem the opponent has run into any plays just yet, and I did top deck a Lil-La, which I would say is just, you know, stupid lucky, but to be fair, like, you know, we had the 3 Lil-La, we had the 3 Ki-Sikil, we had the 3 Secret Password, and 2 other Trouble Sunny. Odds were not too bad for us to draw into a live play there, so now we're able to summon the Lil-La. Like I mentioned, we go into the Ki-Sikil. From there, we use the Lil-La and Ki-Sikil to go into the Evil Twin Lil-La. Evil Twin Lil-La's effect is going to bring back the Evil Twin Ki-Sikil, which can then draw a card. And then I'm going to send those two off in order to go into, again, ideally it would go into a Trouble Sunny here, but because that's not out, we have to go into the Unchained Abomination here. I'll do that to not only get in 3,000 points of damage here, but during the end phase, Unchained A-Bomb can go ahead and destroy the face-down card here, which is a Super Poly. And given that I just had a Dark Monster on board, which is very easy to Super Poly away, I'm very, very much glad that I went into the Abomination there. So, yeah, that was pretty nice. That's a decent example of what a good live/evil twin game goes like. It's like I said, it's pretty similar to Sky Strikers in that it's a control deck that doesn't utilize floodgates, but rather just gains steady advantage or maintains a favorable board state over time in order to cinch out the game, as we saw there. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next game now. Okay, so this next game, oh, whoops, you know what? I forgot to look at what deck I'm playing against. It's been a while since I've actually done that, so, no, it's fine. We'll figure it out pretty quickly. But, yeah, let's see here. Looking at our opening hand, we open Ash, Feather Duster, and Droplet, so even though we're going second, it's definitely not a bad hand here. Ah, yes, this was the, this is actually an Exosister deck I've played against, which is the first one I've come up against. I saw the Zubaba and Dodo stuff here, and I thought it was a Utopia style deck, but well, I guess it does actually still play Utopia stuff, but it's actually I think mainly an Exosister deck. So first one I've played against, eager to see what it can do. We're gonna start by searching one of their trap cards here. Looks like I'm gonna try to ash it away, but or ash away the effect, but well, it's got the good old Crossout Designator, so that's gonna stop us from being able to prevent them from adding their Vadis here, which is going to summon multiple Exosister monsters as a at the cost of a few hundred life points there. So yeah, again, just kind of curious to see what Exosisters do. I haven't run into them at all, and I don't really hear much about them, so I don't think they're like super meta relevant. But yeah, I'm going to use Harpie's Feather Duster to force the Vadis here, and once they activate it, I'll go ahead and use my Maxx to, I think I use it to get a cycle, but I'm pretty sure I do actually get, no, I only get one draw, not multiple draws, never mind. But now the thing to be mindful of when you're playing against Exosisters, as I learned, literally as I was playing against the deck, is that they can, if we move a card out of our graveyard, Exceed Summon as a quick effect. So I want to be mindful to get rid of at least one of these before I start getting stuff out of my graveyard, which Evil and Life Twin, or Evil/Life, I never know what to call the deck. Life Twin does do a fair bit. So I'm going to start by activating Secret Password here for the Sunny Snitch. I do have plays with just these two, but I still like to do this first in order to not only obviously get the optimal play, but then kind of bait out the Ash as well. So we actually have like 4 different things we can summon here. I'm pretty sure I actually misplayed here. I think I could have gone... No, wait. I think I did this right. Yeah, I go for a Lil-La in order to pop that. Oh, but what I should have done was link away the 2 Lil-Las, I think, for a Ki-Sikil. And then I could have Ki-Sikiled... I would have had a Ki-Sikil and a Lil-La, or... I would have had the Ki-Sikil Evil Twin and the Ki-Sikil Live Twin still on board. And then I could have tried to bring back the... Lil-La as a quick effect. So I think I did minorly misplay there, but they're still under Maxx, so we do still get a couple of draws, and we do still get the Ki-Sikil draw as well. So yeah, definitely could have played that a little bit better, but we would have gotten a Nibiru either way. So we do have the Imperm and the Droplet and the Sea and the Ash though. So like I said, this deck does get to play a lot of disruption. So even though we lost out on some of our major plays, we do still get to at least make some disruptive plays in that regard. So then they're not going to summon anymore as they're under Maxx. I'm mainly putting them under Maxx to try to draw into another life play, which unfortunately Parallel Exceed by itself is not. I do have to have, is it when I link summon? Yeah, it's when I link summon. I do have to link summon in order for Parallel Exceed to be live. I did kind of consider setting the Ash Blossom, but I ultimately decided it would still be better in hand as it wasn't going to survive in order to make a link play on the next turn anyway. Opponent goes for Utopia here, just regular old Utopia. Along with the Nibiru to deal some pretty decent damage. I'm trying to go for the ZW, but I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to negate the effect, which will not only weaken their board state by, they got rid of Nibiru, and now they have just this random 1,000 attack monster that doesn't do anything, and just a regular Utopia. So At this point, not too concerned by what my opponent's got on the board. We draw another Lil-La, which again might seem like a really lucky top deck, but again, you got to remember we have the Ki-Sikils, the Lil-Las, Secret Passwords, and the Sunny Snitches, so we did have quite a few options to top deck into in order to make some more plays there. So again, another example of where we just kind of use our disruption to grind out the opponent's plays, even as they disrupted us, because yeah, with all these one-card combos, that's all it takes is drawing one of many cards in order to kickstart our next turn's follow-up play. So, all right, got another couple of games to take a look at. Let's go ahead and watch the next one. All right, so this next game we're going to take a look at here is against Spyrals, which is, I don't run into this deck too often. I thought I'd run into it more on the Limited 1 Festival, because I heard quite a few people say that Spiral is really, really good in that format, but I don't remember seeing it. Just saw it here on Ranked Ladder instead, so I'm going to lead with a Sunny Snitch. Unfortunately, the opponent does have an Ash Blossom for that, so, and this is actually one of the few times where I actually needed the Sunny Snitch to resolve, because what I'll do is I'll often open like a Ki-Sikil or a Lil-La, and then a Secret Password and or a Sunny Snitch as well, and in that case, you know, definitely want to activate the Searcher, even if you don't need it, first in order to bait an Ash Blossom. I have had games where I have had a couple, I can think of two at least off the top of my head, a couple of games where they were like wins, but I couldn't really show, because what I would do is I'd activate like Secret Password, my opponent would Ash it, and then I would just summon the Ki-Sikil, and then they would just concede. So one of the joys, quote unquote, I guess, of being in Diamond 1 is that people concede very freely, which can make it a little bit more difficult to get some quality replays, but it is what it is, you know. They're definitely going to Maxx in response to the Magician's Souls here, so that way if my opponent does decide to go off with a insane amount of plays, I can at least get an insane amount of advantage off of it. But I do also have, like I mentioned, the Imperm and the Droplet left as responses. Okay, so I totally bungled this here, though. I clicked the wrong Sunny Snitch. I meant to obviously send the Sunny Snitch that was on my field to the grave, and not the one that was in my hand. Would, you know, obviously, again, definitely rather keep the one that was in my hand as opposed to the one that's on board. So it's a little, I mean, it's more than a little, it's definitely not ideal, but at the very least, I do still have a lot of options in hand, right? The Lil-La Treat and the Ki-Sikil Frost can both be special summoned from hand if the you know, opposite monster is on the board. So we do have plays. In addition to those, we do have a Fusion Destiny as well, so we have multiple plays already in hand. Again, ideally it'd be better to have a Sunny Snitch too, but we have the Parallel Exceed, but our opponent's got the Maxx right off the bat, so that's definitely a yikes. But I'm not going to let that stop me from playing my hand out in this scenario, because I feel that I can set up a powerful enough board, even under Maxx, where I can not only disrupt their board, but I can get away with getting a strong enough board while giving them relatively few draws. So it looks like the opponent's also going to be using resources from hand, even as I am playing out this hand anyway, so the draws won't be quite as scary in that regard as well. They've got the Veiler, which is going to prevent me from continuing my Ki-Sikil Lil-La plays, which is unfortunate, but can still summon the Parallel Exceed, and I get a draw off the Ki-Sikil Frost here as well. I'm going to try to activate Parallel Exceed, but once again, opponent uses another response, this time Ash Blossom. So, you know, again, does kind of suck that my plays are getting stopped here, but at the same time, at least they're having to utilize resources from their hand in order to do so, right? And also on top of that, we have the Fusion Destiny, which is a nice one special summon boss monster. Again, this deck does need a fair bit of help in having more boss monsters in order to help cinch the game out. Gonna battle over their monster and then pop this Master Plan here with DPE's effect. I can even prevent the Master Plan's search with the Ash Blossom here, which I don't know how important that necessarily is, but I'm gonna go ahead and do here because I have to assume it's worth an Ash Blossom here. Plus, again, just wanting to deny the opponent more advantage since I already gave them more than I'm really comfortable with in the form of those Maxx draws. You know, I usually like to stop under Maxx, but ever since that recent viewer special, which I think actually was a couple of days ago at the time of this, or the time these videos are coming out, trying to be a little bit more bold about playing it a Maxx, right? Speaking of Maxx, opponent's going to activate it during their draw phase to get a draw off of my DPE coming back here. In addition, this AL Rescue, the Spiral Mission Rescue is going to allow them to get some more card advantage back as well. And it looks like they are putting a Sky Striker engine on top of all of that, so even more advantage for them. But we do still have the DPE here, and we're still at quite a few life points ahead of them. Not only that, but also now, this is where I talked about how Sunny Snitch, that onboard effect might look really minor, but can actually be fairly relevant here, as Spyrals are known for their extensive combos and summoning a lot. Our opponent being at 2,000 life points and taking 200 damage every time they summon effectively limits them to 14 summons, which might not sound like a lot, or might sound like a lot rather. It might not sound like enough to really stop a deck, but against Spyrals, it's actually like a relatively decent threat. No jokes aside, but then you have the Super Agent here, which is able to, with its effect, destroy the Sunny Snitch. Otherwise, I believe the Sunny Snitch like had a decent shot of just taking the game by itself. So I'm ultimately going to give them the draw here. I'll just go ahead and use Ki-Sikil now to set up the Lil-La treat on my field, mostly just to ensure that I don't lose the game here. They're going to go into a Nightmare Unicorn to force my DPE, which of course I am going to have to respond with here because I don't want it to get shuffled back into the deck. We can also just pop the Nightmare Unicorn, which will prevent them from setting up a scary link for like an access code or something else that might even be more scary. Interestingly enough, they discard the Engage there, which I'm not really sure. Oh, well, they probably just gonna get rid of the... Well, no, but they link away here. I was gonna say, I have to imagine they're able to get rid of their monsters in their main monster zone. Unless this summons when it link summons? No, you declare... Yeah, so yeah, they definitely could have used that Engage. I don't know why they discarded that. Maybe there is a reason. I'm not familiar with Spyrals, like, at all, so there probably is a reason I'm just not aware of. The Spiral Sleeper I didn't even know was a card, to be totally honest with you. Like, I knew about Double Helix even though I wasn't playing when it was a tier 0 deck, but this Sleeper is nasty, being able to pop cards as a quick effect. Yeah, once per turn during either player's turn, so definitely got to be mindful of that. We're more or less in top deck mode here, but we do have a Ki-Sikil on top of the deck, and we have DPE coming back, so that's really nice. Also, our opponent's only at 1,800 life points. Also, this Spiral Sleeper's got a really nifty effect where if I destroy it, it's actually going to pop every card on the opponent's field and only leave them with one Spiral monster. So that's really nice. That combined with the fact that we're about to go into our Ki-Sikil, which will let us set up all of our live to or evil / live to. Again, I never know what to say. I never know which one to say. Yeah, yep, so there goes all of our opponent's cards, and all they're left with is the Link 2. I know some of the Ki-Sikil, and as long as this resolves, I'm pretty sure I've got game. It looks like my opponent realizes that as well, as they end up conceding, so definitely very nice. Alright, we've got one more game to take a look at. Let's go ahead and jump right on in. Okay, final replay for this video is going to be against Heroes, and as we all know, I will readily feature Heroes on this channel at any given opportunity. Even if it does end up being a loss, which, spoiler alert, I am actually going to lose this game, but it was still a decent back and forth, which is my excuse, aside from it being Heroes, to me keeping this game. So, they start off with the Hero Lives, and I respond with Maxx, which ends up resolving, which is really nice, because that ultimately means that they're either not going to make very many plays, or I'm going to get to draw a lot of cards, so... I'll definitely Valor the Stratos here as well. Don't need them getting any more draws or searches other than what they already opened in their hand. But unfortunately for me, they actually opened both Shadow Mist and Mass Change, which this was what I was trying to prevent by Valoring the Stratos. There was the Dark Law coming down, but yep, unfortunately for me, they just opened both of them. So they're going to get the Dark Law anyway, banishing my Dasher, which isn't going to make my DPE engine dead, which is definitely actually going to come up later. So fairly annoying, but the Dark Law can still be played around in a scenario like this. On top of that, we then draw our second Sunny Snitch, so actually kind of works in this scenario because we can secret password for the third one. Now odds are very likely our the opponent's Dark Law is just going to get rid of a Sunny Snitch, which it does end up doing. So we can activate another Sunny Snitch, get the Lil-La, some of the Ki-Sikil Frost. I actually should have specialed this Ki-Sikil Frost from my hand too. Yeah, here, in this case, just to get rid of the Dark Law more effectively. Well, because the thing is, the Dark Law is also going to be banishing my stuff, right? So if I try to go, I can't go for regular Life Twin play, because if I link them away, they'll get banished, and then I can't bring anything back from the graveyard. So Dark Law definitely, Dark Law single-handedly kills a lot of decks with the macro and search / draw punishing all in one card, but Evil / Live Twin, definitely one of those decks. But I do have a 4 material Zeus as well as a call by setup here, so not too concerned. I know they have an Honest Neos, so that's why I went ahead and activated Zeus when my opponent's Dark Law attacked here, because I knew otherwise they would be able to potentially run over. And since I'm going to lose the call by anyway, I figure I'll just banish the Stratos out of their graveyard. Alright, now they special the Ferris. I'm just going to set up the increase, right? Now summoning the increase, using that effect to get the Vion. Vion's effect will then obviously send Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist is going to add Plasma. So now that I know they have Plasma and are looking to potentially steal my Zeus if they get 3 monsters on board, I'm definitely going to want a Zeus as soon as I see a 3rd monster at the board. So when they normal summon this 2nd increase here, I'm going to Zeus and get rid of all their monsters. But they do still have plays. Banishing the Mali, I then realized, oh wait, yeah, they can just use that poly they just searched and make their DPE. And how about this? They actually are making DPE with a straight up polymerization. So can't be too mad at an opponent for making DPE under circumstances like this. So that's another reason, yeah, why I wanted to show this game, is that it was so close between me being able to actually have all the outs and not. But it really did come down to them just having the Mali engrave and the... I mean, there were a lot of factors that came into play here, but it goes to show really how resilient heroes can be. And then, as we see here, I do top deck the Fusion Destiny, which at first I was like, oh, nice, I can make my own DP. But then I remembered, oh yeah, Dark Law ripped to Dasher earlier. So if it had ripped that Ki-Sikil Frost instead, actually, or that Sunny Snitch, it definitely would have been a different game. But alas, that's all, coulda, woulda, shoulda. So I do still have potential outs here. Unfortunately, the secret password is not one of them as we continue to draw more dead cards. But, again, if this is going to have to happen to me... oh, yeah, I know they can actually Fusion Destiny for another card here. I saw this Fusion Destiny come down, and I was like, wait, they already have the DPE come out. And I'm like, oh, yeah, wait, you're actually playing against a Destiny hero deck, or, a hero deck, you know what I mean? So, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. Like, if games like this are going to happen to me, at the very least, I'm glad if it's heroes. And at this point, I could have just conceded. My opponent even already had lethal on board, I'm pretty sure, at one point. But because of this deck, which I love to unabashedly gush about, I'll let him combo. Plus, I would still someday down the road, God, I don't even know when it would be viable, but maybe someday would like to play this deck on Master Duel as well. So I like to stick around and learn as many hero plays as I can for the eventual future there. Yeah, but at this point here comes the Dread Decimator, and that is going to be far more than enough for lethal, including the Honest Neos, which I had actually forgotten about up to that point. They definitely styled me on a bit, which I'm definitely not too mad about given that it's heroes. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on now to the outro. Okay, everybody, just want to thank you all for watching, especially to the very end of the video like this. I greatly appreciate your viewership. And yeah, again, if anybody here in the comments has experience with Evil / Live Twins and are having any thoughts about the build, any suggestions and or about gameplay, particularly what to drop when Trouble Sunny comes out. I imagine we just drop like the Xyz monsters, but probably still keep the DPE engine. Just in general thoughts about the deck and about the archetype as a whole, I would love to hear back from you about. But yep, I think that's about all the time I've got for today, so I won't extend the outro too much here. Just want to thank you again for watching, and also commenting and subscribing are very helpful as well. Comments, love to interact with you guys down there. Subscribing, the best way to not only notify or get notifications when my videos go out, which they do go out every day, but also the best way, another good way to support the channel, one of the best ways. But that's going to do it for today's video. Without further ado, this is Xlex signing out. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.